Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video. This is a paid request for Ash. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for The Nature of the Beast from 1995, starring Lance Henriksen, Eric Roberts, two wonderful actors. Enjoyed a lot of their work. Eric Roberts in films like The Ambulance and Lance Henriksen in films like Aliens and Pumpkinhead. Eric Roberts was great in The Expendables, the first one. Just great to see these actors kind of collide, where Lance Henriksen got a suit and tie, he's driving home to his family, his wife, and there's this drifter played by Eric Roberts. One thing leads to another, they get paired together on that long, lonesome highway, as Eric Roberts puts it. And the movie, pretty much, one of them is a robber, one of them is a psychopath. Because there's these hatchet murders happening across the highway where people get killed and they'll be put into the trunk of a car, and the words hatchet man will be written on the car. And then another person stole $1 million from a Vegas casino that apparently was a front for the mob. The whole who's the psychopath and who's the robber, to me, it was obvious. Because they try so hard to be one way that you just think the opposite. And then when that comes to fruition, you just go, oh yeah, I figured. Just like they try so hard to make you think one thing that instead of it does the opposite. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. When something is such a more red herring, I would say that's one of the faults of the film. It is an interesting film to watch for the two actors. I think it's just great to see them work together and play off each other. How Lance Harris's character is much more in control, much more quiet, and when he talks, he tries to be more assertive. And then Eric is much more the wild card. He's much more loopy and talky, and whether it be hitting on a waitress and trying to get in her pants, or trying to deal with these younger guys and girls in their van. And Lance Henriksen is much more quiet type of evil, while Eric is much more obvious in craziness. I mean, there's even a bit where they stop at this creepy trolley station where Phil Fondacaro, which I recognize, he's the little guy in Ghoulies 2 as one of our good guys. He was also in the film Troll, the first one. He's one of the people owning this station. And so Eric buys this venomous lizard and fucks with Lance and says, you fuck with me, this could happen to you. And it's kind of trying to be this psychological bit back and forth about the stature of evil, and you can't kill the devil, Jack. You ought to know that. Eric tells that to Lance, or, you can't fill that hole in your heart, Jack. Or, you know what, man is a thing. He eats, he sleeps, he farts. That's it. All the rest, it's just passing time. I mean, some may deem Eric Roberts going a bit over the top, but to me I found it fun. In contrast to more of Lance's just simmering rage the more he's with this guy. Point that he gets out of his car, it's like, get out, just get the fuck out of my car. Now, because they have these secrets, and because the movie's trying to delve into keep the audience at a distance of who the psychopath and who the killer is, and Lance has this briefcase, but what's in the briefcase? Again, that stuff just makes it a lot more, okay, this is the type of movie that wants to have a twist, So if it's hammering on Lance in the suitcase and they're trying to make Eric so crazy that he must be the killer, well, the spotlight shines too bright on him, more than likely it's going to be. And lo and behold, spoiler alert, yes, Lance is the killer and Eric is the robber. Now, I guess I should mention the director of this film is Victor Salva. This is a guy that on the set of Clown House, well, I should say, during the making of his movie Clown House, this guy took one of the kids, who is the lead actor, and went to, I don't know, his place, motel, whatever, filmed himself doing sexual things to this kid, got arrested, got caught, the evidence was there, but because Francis Ford Coppola was Victor Salva's buddy, I think also was like protege, where Francis Ford Coppola and Victor Salva was like a student to him. Whatever the case may be, it will push their power, their higher ups of power, to get Victor Salva the fuck out. And do less jail time than what Wesley Snipes fucking did for tax evasion. Wesley Snipes was in jail more for tax evasion than Victor Salva was for doing stuff to a little kid. Not a he said, she said. It was filmed on camera. 100% evidence. My God, man. Now, you say separate the art from the artist. I can do that here and say I do think the film was a decent film because of the two actors. The two actors played off each other fairly well. It was great to see these two guys work with each other and trying to be this kind of, I guess, dissertation on the nature of evil. Although I do think there's a lot more psychological grit and oomph we could have gotten out of it, because you don't get much insight into these folks, because it's trying to be the twist of who's who. So because it keeps the audience at a distance with that, I think there's a lot left on the table that you could have really had these actors eat up in terms of character quirks or what their backstories are. Like, you only get a taste of it, you don't get the full meal of it, because we gotta keep you at bay, audience, for this twist. So it's more of just seeing these two guys work together. Now, the reason I could separate the art from the artist in this compared to, say, Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 is because Victor Salva does not have a whole lot of his sicko fantasies in this. There are no young kids in this. There are no the creeper sniffing a pair of underwear or wanting to get body parts and like that type of stuff that just it's like his sicko fantasies being put on the screen in place, like he is the creeper, almost as if he wrote himself as the creeper, or put his sicko into the creeper villain. I mean, the only hint you get is like Eric Roberts, when the early bit of them meeting each other is like, when I meet someone, within 2 minutes I try to figure them out. Do they shoot dope? Do they wear women's underwear? And then Lance says, so are you psycho or you just like to check people's pants? And then there's one moment where Eric asks if Lance is gay. Hey, it's okay if you are. That's probably the only hints of it I see, which I don't know. That didn't even need to be there either. Like I say, it's one of those things that it depends how much you like these two actors. You want to see these two actors have some nice back and forth with each other. That's really what most of the movie is. Yes, there's hatchet murders, but you don't see anything. It's all after. You don't even see a lot of gory aftermath. It's pretty much like there's a person that gets killed at the beginning. You just see the car rocking, so don't come a knocking. Or you see maybe blood covering a trunk, so you get the idea that what's in the trunk, but we don't see what's in the trunk. So there's really nothing in terms of gore. Maybe there's a bit where there's cops looking at a trunk and they pull an arm, disembodied arm. There's not much in terms of action or thrills. This is pretty much like Lance tries to get away from him, but the way is blocked, so he's got to go back. And then Eric Roberts knows who he is, so he kind of pushes himself into Lance's life. And you kind of don't get what Eric Roberts wants out of all this, because he's got all this money. I mean, he could find a car, steal a car, and get the fuck out of Dodge. So you don't really get what does Eric Roberts want out of or the Lance Henriksen. Just because he's crazy as well, so it's nice to meet someone who's also crazy. So it's like here's someone we could relate to in a way. But that's the thing, like we just know Eric Roberts' character is a robber. But okay, if he's a psycho, like what other psycho things has he done? Has he also killed people? Has he also killed people in robberies? That's the thing, like that stuff is left a mystery, so because we don't get much insight, then you're just kind of asking these questions. Or if Lance Harrison's the killer, Hatchet Man, it seems like there's a lot of times just what's in his briefcase is the hatchet. Is this kind of cool looking special hatchet. It seems like there's a lot of times that he could have killed Eric Roberts' character. I mean, there's even a bit where Eric puts dope in him, heroin or whatever, and he's kind of out of it, ready to sleep. And Lance, he just takes a chair and puts it in front of the door. And I'm sitting there going, well, why don't you kill the guy? Then just put him in the trunk, go somewhere, put him in another trunk. Just do that. That way, this guy, you're headed, I don't know, it just seems like there's a lot of instances that he could have done that. And it's not, I mean, maybe Eric starts liking Lance, but you never get a sense that Lance likes or appreciates Eric Roberts' character. So is it because, again, we gotta keep things hazy for who's who that we find out at the end there. I kind of rather we see that up front. So granted, you don't have the mystery, which I don't think the mystery worked, but you could have just got a lot more meat to the marrow. You could have been gotten a lot more discussions, conversations, a lot more of an intriguing story where you really delve into the minds of these two people and why they do what they do. Probably the most he did is at the end when Eric Roberts goes, "Why do you chop people up? Like, why do you cut them up?" And I do like Lance's line where he says, "For the fuck of it." So the two actors do a great job. Brian James is in it, only for a little bit as a sheriff. He didn't. He appears in the third act. He's in it for like 5 minutes. And it's not some big action scene at the end. Spoiler alert, it's Lance is able to get the drop on Eric, shoots him up with all this poison of these drugs. Doesn't chop him up for some reason. instead buries him. Which is, I'm sitting there going, if you're the hatchet guy, why don't you chop him up instead of just bury him? Just, okay, well, we're at Lance's cabin that he sometimes goes on with his wife. Okay, true, but he still buries the guy in his backyard of this cabin. Wouldn't it be easier to just chop up into pieces and do it? But he doesn't. Why? I don't know. Because then it would tell the audience that he's the hatchet man right then and there until we gotta wait for his reveal. So that I would blame Victor Salva on. Among the many other things to blame him on. So I guess truthfully you would blame it on the script. Although I don't know if he wrote the script or not. I can't remember who wrote the script to this. If so, then he is to blame. But maybe as a director could have changed things as well. Or, stop breathing, which he should do, and get a different director. Like the director of Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, or someone else to that effect. Abel Ferrara, like get some other director to deal with this. So I do think there's issues with the plot. Because, okay, some that did this better, that granted you don't have a lot of detail on the killer backstory-wise, but The Hitcher, 1986 film. Another road movie. But that one, like, maybe you don't have, quote, a lot of insight, but because the dialogue seems a bit more interesting in what they're saying. What do you want? I want you to stop me. Or you're a good kid. You'll figure it out. Or when he wants, he tells himself to shoot him and he doesn't. Useless. Like, there just seems more interesting details put into the dialogue to make you go, okay, you kind of start to figure what kind of person this Rutger Hauer character is. Like, they try to do that bits here and there. But it's mostly from Eric Roberts talking to Lance, not so much Lance talking to Eric. So, but I do like these two actors. Nice to see them work together. Because I don't think they ever did another film where they worked together. Well, it is what it is. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.